What's going on, guys? It's your boy Slayer Extreme TV. We're back again with another updated ARK Survival Ascended Dev Kit video, and today I'm going to go super in depth and cover two different methods that I've found out about. One method we have already established with the previous video, and a new method that I found out just a couple days ago on how to create a dino for your mod. All right. So we're gonna go over very simply on the old method that you've all already seen with creating our Bob the Anki video, and then we'll go in with the new method and what the differences are and what benefits you get with the new method compared to the old method. So let's get right into the video. Now, of course, let's get organized real quick, and let's create an Anki file for our brand new Anki we're going to make. Now, essentially, we originally created a dino in this method. We'd come up, we'd search for, we search for the Primal Earth folder within the main content area, find the dinos folder for the island, and we find our dino, which is the Anki. Now, normally, this is how we created our Anki before, where we would just simply come in here, highlight it, drag it into the file, and copy it. But this, and that was and then we went on after that into how to set up the dino and everything else. We're not going to do that this time, and I'm going to show you and explain to you why as we do it. So I'm going to actually only take the skeletal mesh, because we're still going to make it Anki, but we're going to name him Bob again, but we're going to do it a different way. So basically, the way that we were doing it originally, with finding the dino, coming over here and dragging the dino's BP and creating a brand new copy. What this was doing was it was basically creating a variant, at least the way I understood it, it's creating a variant of the vanilla dino, meaning it's a brand new dino with all the vanilla stuff and things within it. So normally, the best way I can show you this is to find a dino that has blueprints, graphs all within it. So like here within Bigfoot, this is the best way I can explain it. If we open up the vanilla Bigfoot blueprint, you can see all these graphs, right? All the graphs that are associated with the Bigfoot. This, with the way that we just created our Anki, if the Anki itself, if our Mr. Bob had graphing within it, all of this graph would be right here. It would transfer over because our parent class is the Dino Character BP parent itself. So our new dino is not going to be parented with our new our new dino, Mr. Bob, is not going to be parented to the vanilla Anki base. So like, and to really show you more in depth, even though we're not going to create a Bigfoot, if I drag Bigfoot and I create a copy like I've shown you guys in the past, so we created a new Bigfoot BP and we edit it. Look, there's all the graphing, right? That's one way of creating a dino, and there's nothing wrong with this method, okay? Because what this method does that I don't think a lot of people realize, so we'll name him Bob as Bob 2 just for this. What people don't realize is whenever you create a dino like this, meaning copying the dino character BP and dragging it into your mod and creating a copy, yes, it does bring over all of the graphs that Wildcard has associated with that specific dino, and the parent class is literally something very like super base parent, right? It's not based on the vanilla dino itself, it's based on whatever and however Wildcard set that original dino up. But what this allows you to do is, if you were to customize the dino character status BP, normally if you created normally you shouldn't be able to delete this, because it's the base. It's the basic thing that supposedly your dino is supposed to inherit from the vanilla dino. But that's only if you use the method I'm going to show you here shortly, which is basically creating a child of the vanilla dino. But we didn't create a child this way. We created a brand new freaking variant with all graphing that we could go in here and change if we wanted to, and probably break some stuff if we did. But by doing the method of just copying the character BP for the dino, we can actually come in here and ensure that our customized stats are guaranteed to post. So if we created a brand new status component for this and we set it up and everything, we could drag it in here, drop our new status component in here, and we can delete. Even though a lot of people say you can't delete the old one, actually you can. In this way, if your parent class is not the vanilla dino, you can delete your the old status component within it. That's the method that I was trying to show you guys last time when we created Bob our Anki. But it wasn't working, or I was messing up, or whatever the case. So that's one thing we can do with our Anki if you wanted to. But the downfall with that is if you find a dino that has all this graphing crap in it, this graph itself can end up breaking, okay? It could end up breaking, and then you would personally have to figure out how in the hell to fix it to make sure it works and allows you to compile and save the dino BP so your dino can work within your mod. That can be a pain in the butt, especially if you're like me and you have no idea how to graph. So this method is it's useful, it's possible, you can make it all happen with all your dinos. I've already done it in the past before I had to redo my entire dino overhaul mod because I factory reset my computer. But this other method of making a child rather than just a copy of the blueprint gives you more of a variety and range to not only where it's less complicated for you, but it gives you more freedom and a less file heavy mod for everything else. Because the way we were copying it, copying the dino BP, it's a heavy file because you're copying anything and everything that's referenced and associated within this BP itself. It makes that file super heavy, and it could make your mod bulky from what I've been told and what I've seen in the difference in changes. And that's not including anything else you have in your mod, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to create a child based on the vanilla Anki itself. Actually, let's go ahead. Let's do it this way. Just because I want to prove a point of what I'm talking about, we'll create a Bob Bigfoot. We'll create a Bob Bigfoot. Okay. So I need the skeletal mesh for the Bigfoot. I'll show you that, there's an easier way to do this. I'm going to name this Bob folder. Okay. So if you can find the skeletal mesh, going through the files, the way I did it was I went into the Bigfoot folder and I saw Bigfoot new because I didn't see the skeletal mesh here, and I just basically opened it up until I found the skeletal mesh. Pretty much it's that simple. You can do that for a lot of other dinos. Sometimes the skeletal mesh is going to be right here in the main open, and sometimes it's going to be hidden within a new file. Why? I don't know, but it is. So we're going to make a child of the Bigfoot. So what we're going to do is right click in our folder and we're going to come here to blueprint class, and it's going to say pick parent class. What you want to do is come down here to the search bar, and because we're using Bigfoot as our example, I'm going to type in Bigfoot space character space BP, scroll down and look, and I'm going to look for this, the Bigfoot character BP. This is basically, see how it has all the different variants that are associated with this one? We're going to use the main Bigfoot character BP as the parent, and we're going to select it. Now we're going to name it. I'm going to name it Bob underscore character underscore BP because this is a dino. And now we've created our Bigfoot, right? And this is what I mean by the child class is different than the way we just explained a minute ago. When we come in here and open our BP, right? you can see the first difference is the parent class. It's associated to the vanilla Bigfoot, which means if we look at our event graph, there's no graphing. That's one of the biggest benefits out of doing this, because now if you know how to graph, you don't have to worry about your graph interfering with any graph that was already associated with the Bigfoot from the get-go. Because if you come up here to this open parent in editor, excuse me, this shows you this is the parent class. All this graph right here is associated and inherited to our Bigfoot, meaning now we have room for more unique customization. And what I mean by what I was telling you before is, because this is a child, this dino character stat, you are not going to be able to delete, right? So what we're going to do, because we can't delete it, and if you want to customize your stats, you right click it, find class in content browser. It's going to take you in your content browser where the file is located, and we're going to create a copy. Okay. We're going to rename it so we know what we're looking for, right? Put Bob at the end of it. And first and foremost, before we go into the details of creating your dino and the different things you can do, this is the first thing we'll look at. We're going to open up our dino character stats, and you have so many options to go through to customize this dino to be super, super unique. What I normally do is I just mess with the max status values. This is basically saying at level 1, these are the stats of the dino, okay? And then of course you have multipliers that you can then add on to whatever the multiplier is associated with, right? So we're gonna do this. We're gonna make this 50,000, right? We're gonna give this guy 50,000 everything, and we're gonna make his melee damage 10 times stronger. It's almost like we're making a boss, right? So we're gonna give his multipliers 10 times for his melee, and we don't really need anything else. Now, because this is a boss, I'm going to go into a way of how I set up my bosses for my mod personally, and you don't have to use these methods to create a dino, but I'm going to try to cover all these different things that you can do for your dino on top of just creating a regular tameable dino. Okay. So now that we set up our dino character status, if this was a tameable dino, like so if this was like you're taming it in the wild, you can come down here as well, and you have amount max gain per level up value and amount max gain per level up value tamed. I don't know if the majority of how all these other ones work, but if you tame a dino, you want the boost of the dino per level, like what the stat is boosted by per level, you come over here to amount max gain per level up value tamed, and you can change the multiplier to whatever you want. So if we change this to a 3 times multiplier for everything, let's reset that. Hold on. Speed is very, very dangerous. Can break your computer. But now every single stat is going to be increased by a multiplier of 3 based around these max stat values. So you got to keep that in mind. So whatever your max stat values are, and you come down here and you want to increase the multiplier, because this is hard coded basically, and not what server owners can add on top of this essentially, but everything's going to be multiplied by 3 every single time you level up, right? So we're going to compile and save it, because we're not, even though we changed this tamed value multipliers, they're not going to be used, because this is going to be a boss. So now we created our dino character status component. Once you're done, because you already have a dino character status BP with associated to your child dino, that is because it's being inherited from Bigfoot, you want to ensure that within your dino character status component, you type in priority, and you make this priority at greater than 1. So at least you saw this in the previous video. I figured it out. I make everything a 5 for priority, because it does work. And now simply We come back over here into our Dino BP after compiling and saving. Now once we input this Dino component, Dino character status component within the BP, our Bob's gonna use this status component over the inherited one. Now we can either type it out, we can type out like Bob, and it when we come up here to components and hit add, we type out Bob and it brings up the component, or we can simply just drag it in and it will be at the very, very bottom. Okay. Now for the next step, we want to make sure that the new skeletal mesh that Bob inherits is ours, because we're going to change the skeletal mesh up a little bit. If you ever want to change anything about your dino, how it looks, you can, do it through the Dino BP itself, similar to how we added static meshes to our crafting bench that we made. And you can do that through here by being like, here, let's do static mesh. We create a new static mesh. For a dino, you want to make sure that it's attached. Your new static mesh is attached to your actual mesh, so it moves and flows with the dino. And then to make sure it moves and flows, you're going to come right here to parent socket. If say you want to put it like something on the forehead of the dino, right? Best one I like to use, oh, I can't spell. The best one I like to use is glasses socket. And then we'll pick, let's do witch hat. We'll search witch hat for the static mesh. And it's not, as you can see, it's not going to be visible, but if we compile and save it, there's our witch hat. And now all you got to do is come in here, and because we're in the viewport, and you basically come in here and set it up. Set it up however you want it. And now we have Bob with the witch hat. And you can continuously do that, and you can change the materials of your static meshes within here. And we can even change the way that this big boy looks in here, right here with all these materials. Now you don't really have to have the static mesh, like a brand new static mesh to do this. You can have the vanilla one associated to it if you choose to, and just change everything within the BP. It reduces the amount of files you have within your mod if you want to. I personally don't do it just because I like to adjust things through the file itself. So like for here, if I wanted to make him bigger, I could easily type in scale in the search bar and scale this big bad boy up if I wanted to. So you have two different methods that you can use to your advantage. Now, we don't need to be in the viewport no more. So now we're going to get into the real customization. So one of the things you should do, I suggest, is change the description name of your dino. What this basically does is it's the name of the dino that shows in the wild whenever somebody's trying to tame it, or if they're fighting it, like if it's a boss. Now we'll make this a tameable boss. You can either fight it or tame it, up to you, right? So his name is Bob. We'll name him Bob the Destroyer. Oh, I didn't. Okay, Destroyer. Can't type. Oh my Lord Jesus. Can we type Destroyer, please? That'd be great. Okay. Now, as far as I remember, Bigfoot doesn't have a saddle, so we don't have to worry about saddle. Now, a few things I like to go through. I don't want Bob to be using genders. So we'll type in gender in the search bar, and you can actually disable the gender. If you can disable your dino from using genders if you want. This is a method that you want to be sure to remember, because if you have a dino that normally doesn't breed, this is how you would make them breed, because they need genders to breed, right? So we're going to turn out genders, because I don't want it to have it, because I want the name Bob the Destroyer to be the main thing it's visible. I don't want it to say female Bob the Destroyer type of thing. Let's go into, we'll type in death. Now this death basically is where you would end up associating your harvesting component for the dino. What I mean by that is whenever you kill it, the dino death harvesting component is what you would harvest from the corpse. Okay. So you can set that up. You can set it up to have where when you kill it, it gives you an item of your choosing. You can make it give you a blueprint of your choosing. You can create your own death inventory templates. You know, if you want, so where it's basically the when you kill it, what's in the, if it drops anything in its inventory, and give it your own chance number. Basically, the higher the number, the better the chance that your inventory template that you may have created is actually going to be in use. So that's a good thing to remember. You could change the death sounds to, you know, so because this is a boss, we'll do the death sound of Megapithecus. This is basically going to be whenever we kill Bob in the open world, this is the sound that we will hear rather than the death sound of the Bigfoot. And let's say we want to add music to this guy. You just type in music, override area music, and you're basically, we're going to add the Megapithecus loop fight battle from the island map. Now, keep in mind, any music that you add, one of two things. It has to be native to what is currently within ARK Survival Ascended as of right now. So if you're trying to use Genesis music, it's not going to work because Genesis is not a part of ARK Survival Ascended's base game as of right now. So if it's not native to the base game, you would have to create your own file of it and put it into your mod for it to work in general. But if it's a native, but if it's a native asset and a native resource from the base game itself, it will automatically work without having to add extra files to your mod. Now let's see. Now for dino levels, if you want your dino to spawn in at different levels, this is where it would happen. So for most mods, a lot of us don't mess with this unless it's a boss like what we're making now, because we want our dino to, some modders like myself, like our custom dinos to be able to be spawning in based on what the server owners have dictated for their playstyle. Meaning these dino, like for Bob right now, it can spawn anywhere from level 1 all the way to a max of level 900, right? Because these numbers right here, the minimum and max base level ranges, are basically the numbers you would use within your configs of your server for the dino difficulty override. Okay, so if I wanted to, because this is a boss, I can simply do this, delete all the other indexes and have one index to where it's 100% guarantee entry weight, and the base and max are set to 30, which means this guy is going to spawn in at the max dino level of your server all the freaking time. Never going to change. Now because we want this guy to hit like a truck, you know, as we've seen in this dino character status BP, it only gives you a multiplier for the change in his damage. Well, that multiplier is being associated through any type of melee damage that is within the dino character BP. So if you want your dino to hit 10 times stronger or whatever the case may be, or you know, the type of tier of dino it is, or if you just want it to hit harder because you felt like the vanilla version just didn't hit hard enough as it should, you just simply come in here and change the melee damage. Now this is a boss, so we're going to change the melee damage of everything to 500, and because it's tamed, we're making sure that it hits like a truck whenever it's tamed too. Okay, and now if you did create this dino and say you wanted it to be bigger and you increased the scaling, whether you scaled it from within the blueprint itself or you scaled it through the skeletal mesh, you would also need to adjust within the you make sure you're over here. Always make sure you're highlighted on this if you're going to adjust anything in terms of like anything basic through the character BP, because if you click like one of these and you try to search something, you may end up not pulling up any results because you're not clicked on the right file. But we'll make sure we click on Bob itself. And if you make the dino bigger, you want to make sure that your attack range changes as well, because you don't want your dino having to run all the way up on you to where you're engulfed in it, to where you get stuck, and then you have a boss or a dino that can't really hit anything, but everything can hit it, right? So you just you change the attack range for all your attacks, whether it's the wild dino or the tamed one, either way. Okay. Now, say you want to, what is it called? Say you want the dino the dino or your boss dino, whatever you're creating, to have some sort of resistance, right? Well, that's all going to be associated here in the dino settings class. So what you want to do is find it, then hit the folder with the magnifying glass so you can find the file within your content browser and create your own copy. Okay, this one will actually create. We're going to rename this just to Bob. Okay, and we'll open it up. Now you can do it. There's different ways to do this, and there's no sort of order to do it in. But you can start working in this first, or we just created the new file and we can go ahead and link it to our Bob file. And we'll compile and save everything right now. So just in case the dev kit crashes, nothing we've done up to this point gets lost. Now within the dinos class setting that we just created, this is where two things are happening. First is where this is basically what's associated with what the dino can eat, as well as be tamed with, and where all the resistance from all types of damage takes place. So as you can see, it has a kibble base. You can use berries to tame it. And then you see down here, spoiled meat is in here for whatever reason, but it doesn't affect it, meaning it can't eat it. It doesn't heal from it. It can't be tamed with it or anything like that. So say we wanted to, we'll remove all this. Okay. And we'll come in here. What is this? Oh, we don't need that either. Say we come in here, we delete everything. Say we want this food effectiveness multiplier. We want this baby to be able to get 100 times more effectiveness for food. We want it to heal 1,000 times better, and we want it to tame 1,000 times better. From the kibble, and we'll just make this affinity override 1. Why? I have no idea. I can't remember what the affinity override is, but I believe it's both associated with how it's tamed. So and keep in mind, these are multipliers and overrides that you can just play around with until you get it to where you want it. I can't go into great details of what something specifically means and does because I didn't really play with it that much. The most I played with was the effectiveness multiplier, because based on the taming speed of your server will determine how many kibble are required, or how much of that taming food is required for that dino. So normally I would, like, for my personal dino overhaul mod, all my kibbles that are within the dino settings I created, their effectiveness is set to 400. So, or it's either the effectiveness is set to 400 or the override is set to 400. I think either way, it's a perfect tame when they use the kibble, as well as it doesn't take as many kibble to tame, say, a level 300 dino, unless something that, if you use the vanilla way of how they had their kibble set up within the dino class settings, it would probably take 120 something kibble to tame a dino that's level 300. But if you adjust either both of these or one of these, you could guarantee maybe, depending on the number you play with and you sit at, you can do it probably 1 to 8 kibble to tame a level 300 dino. So it's just something you play around with and test it out for yourself. So we're gonna make this food, say, how do you spell Mijo? Is it J? Mijo. Yeah, Mijo berries. We're gonna say you can tame this with Mijo berries. Perfect tame with Mijo berries if you want to. Now, this is the fun part. Now right here is the base damage type adjusters. These are basically all the damage types that are associated with this dino, or this class of dino technically. And the lower the number, the more resistance it has against it. The higher the number, the less resistance. Now, what you can do, if you so choose, is you can play around with the current existing damage types adjusters that it already has, or you can get rid of them, or you can just add more. It's up to you. We're going to remove all of them, and we're going to add 3. This is how I created my bosses. Essentially, I created my bosses to have a 0.8 resistance to them, but what I did was, all I did was come in here to where damage class is, and I searched damage type, okay? And I basically found the parent for every single damage type that I could find. The main 3 that I found that were always parented were these 3. Damage type, primal damage type, and shooter damage type. Everything within the mod that does any type of damage is associated with one of these parents, which means that any damage type that's associated, whether it's a weapon, ammo, character, tool, dino, doesn't matter. This dino now has a resistance to it. And like I said before, the lower the number, anything lower than 1 means more resistance. Anything higher than 1 means less resistance. So for me personally, I'm still playing around with the resistance for my bosses, but as of right now, the balance I use is 0.8. It's not too much. It's not too heavily defensive, but it's not overly weak. Okay, so we'll compile and save it, and we've already established that it's linked to our Mr. Bob in here in the BP. Another thing, if you want to have a dino, like, because we're making a boss right now, if you want to have this dino not be targeted by turrets, you can hard code it. If you type turret in the details bar and come down here and say prevent targeting by turrets, enable that. Now your dino cannot be targeted by turrets. Makes people very upset when you do this, because they always think they can cheese kill some dinos so they don't actually have to fight it, you know, using turret quetzals and stuff like that. Another thing, if you don't want to use this, if you want to change the colors of your dino, but you don't want to change the, like, come in here and change the materials at all, like say you want to keep the materials how they are, just leave them the same, but you want these colors of the dino to consistently be different to a specific variety, well, you come in here into the BP of the dino in details and type in random, and you'll find the random color sets for male and female. As you can see, they used one color set for the dino. So basically, we'll go ahead and find the file, and we'll create our own copy for the video. And we'll rename it Bob. And what we'll do is we'll go ahead and link it into the random color sets for both male and female, compile, and save. Now, we open up the dino color set. So what we have here is these indexes are representing the regions for the dino. So if the region, as you can see, normally these regions are not, honestly, are not named. Some of these regions are, depending on the dino. Not, you know, Wildcard didn't go through the hassle of saying, well, this region is for this region's name is this region's name is that, and so on and so forth. So you might have to play around to figure out what region's what. If you really wanted to, you could go onto the wiki page for Ark Survival Evolved on the internet and simply find Bigfoot, and you will then be able to see, it should give you some detailed information on what regions are being used for Bigfoot and what regions aren't, and then just associate whatever the region number is from the website to the indexes, okay? And the only way you can get these colors to work, so as long as the color name, okay, is associated here within this primal game data BP, you can write, you have to use the exact name that's within this primal game data, and that's where you will put it here. You can, or you could do is open up your mod data asset, okay, and where is it? Let me do color. There it is. Nope. Type in your mod data assets, just type in, oh, I can't spell. Type in color, and you're looking for color definitions. This is where you can add your own color. You name it whatever you want, create the color yourself, and then whatever name you put here for color name, okay, that's where you would end up, that's where you would end up putting the name within the index, because it's going based on the name that's associated either within your mod data asset or your primal game data. If you don't want to create your own colors because you think that the primal game data has the color you already want, all you got to do is open it up, open this up just like we did the mod data asset, type in the search bar color definition, and you'll see all the color names that Wildcard has associated already in the game. So that's all you have to do is just change these colors. So if we wanted to, we could do that, and we don't have to. If you don't want the colors in general and you want to use, you have custom materials for your dino that you want to use, what you would need to do is remove these completely from the dino's BP, because the fur, and this is only specifically for fur and feather dinos, if you were to keep this random color set, so you can keep, because you want to just create your own copy of this material itself and change the color of the fur itself from here, you would the color you pick here would not stay the same whenever you spawn this guy in, because it's going to be associating fur, only the fur, with the random color set that you have within the dino BP. But if we were to change the skin to a customized material that you may have gotten from the Epic Store, or if you did the same thing and just colored it through the you created your own copy of the material that's already associated with the dino itself, it would be then at that point, if you're not using a customized material, you would then still have to remove the random color sets, so that color that you're using for the fur and for the body would not be changed to all the other random colors that the random color sets would end up generating for you. I hope that makes sense. Besides that, let me see, what else can we do for this dino? Oh, if you have a dino and you have a custom saddle, there's some things you can do. If you want to create a custom tag, if you change this custom tag to something else, like if we change this to Bob, and we wanted to ensure that Bob's vanilla saddle worked, you cannot change this. There's a lot of different methods with creating saddles that we'll go into at a later date, but from what I've seen, the main association based on the way that Wildcard set up their saddles, if you change this custom tag name, you'll have to change the name that's associated in the specific area of the saddle blueprint. But we'll go into the details later. So if we change this, we'll change this to Bob. No, we'll keep this Bigfoot, and we'll worry about that for another day. What else? You can make Bob poop an egg if you want. If you type in egg in the details, you can come over here. This is where you're enable whether or not a dino that normally, like Bob's a mammal, so he doesn't poop eggs, you can actually make this guy poop eggs. You want to make sure that the base egg class is the parent base for every single egg in the game. Come right here and say we wanted to do Rex. Do a Rex egg. So we'll do, what is this? Yeah. So we'll do Rex egg, because this is the unfertilized version. And then you can add a weight to of how often it's going to poop this egg out in the wild or when it's tamed. And we can even make and if you want to get into even the more customization, you can create your own fertilized egg if you want. Just simply, so let's say we want to base it off of, the Rex, right? We're going to use the Rex fertilized egg. So I placed it here because we're going to search for it in the browser. We're going to create a copy. Okay. And this, you can do this for any dino. So we're going to remove all this. We'll do Bob We're gonna rename it Bob Fertilized. Okay, even though this is weird that Bob's gonna lay an egg. So we're gonna take this and we're gonna associate it here. All right, and now what we will do, so this is fully customized, we'll go to description. We'll say fertilized Bob egg. Okay, and what we want to do is, normally you would just need to search egg dino class to spawn, right? Because you can easily come through here, scroll all the way down. Oops. Scroll all the way down. Normally all you need to change is the fertilized Bob egg. You can change the, the drop mesh for the egg, so you can actually give it a skin so the egg looks very, very unique. Or you simply just have this, and you can change the material, or you can override, just like the skeletal mesh. Find this mesh, drag it into your mod folder, open it up like you would like we did that skeletal mesh, change the material for the mesh within the file, and then change the material here as well, so it's all mirrored, basically. But what you normally would end up doing after you do the description, come down here, you can change how the egg will look for the icon itself when it's in your inventory. But what you're mainly looking for is at the very bottom, you'll see egg dino class of spawn. Right now, this fertilized egg is going to be associated with the Rex, but we want it to associate it with Bob. So you either search Bob, you search your dino here, or you do like we've done everything else and highlight your dino character BP, hit the arrow so it's linked. So we'll compile and save it. And now, since we're going to make Bob poop an egg, we're going to need those genders back, even though this is a boss. We're going to use gender. And one thing you want to ensure, now that we have eggs associated to this dino, right now, this dino is a gestation dino, if I'm not mistaken. So we'll type in gestation. Yep, use baby gestation. So if we remove this, now the dino is going to, instead of using the gestation method to where the mom's just going to grow the baby with inside her, Bob is now going to poop out a fertilized egg that will then be a baby of Bob. And now we compile and save it. Now there's probably a lot more you could get into when it comes to creating a dino. One of the things that we didn't do, that we did on the last on the prior video of creating a dino, was we melee, what is it? No, it's a damage type thing we did before with the Anki Bob from the video, original video, was we took the damage types that were associated with the dino and made it to where we're harvesting any resource we deem necessary. You can still do that. That method is still valid. So just go watch that other video if that's something you're interested in. Because I don't want to go over it again. Just so this video is not too long. And that same method of changing the damage type for certain things harvest, we're going to go over that as well for custom tools in later videos. So you can always wait for that if you wanted to. Now that we have Bob, if you want Bob to spawn in the world, he's completed, he's ready to go. Like your dino, you finished everything you wanted to set up with him. Come into your mod data asset. Okay, and what you're looking for is NPC. And then there's different methods you could use to get your dino to spawn. You can either remap a vanilla dino, which would basically erase that vanilla dino from the map itself. And essentially you're just basically saying, I want Bigfoot. Okay, you want the vanilla Bigfoot to be changed with, basically, instead of the vanilla Bigfoot spawning, your dino will spawn. And that's how you would remap your dinos. And by doing that, it's perfectly fine, but you can end up having conflicts if you do that with your mod and other dino mods, because some dino mods may be doing a piggyback system. which is basically right here in the global NPC random class spawn weights, to where they're using a vanilla dino as the piggyback method, to where that vanilla dino is only going to spawn, say, 10% of the time, while your custom dino that's attached to it is going to spawn 90% of the time. But if your mod remaps a vanilla dino and another mod is using this piggyback method, it's going to have conflicts, and you're going to keep that dino overhaul mod or that dino mod itself that you may be wanting to play on your server along with your own mod. It's going to conflict, and some dinos aren't going to spawn because you've remapped a vanilla dino completely. If you want to just use the natural spawn containers for a map, you can come here to the NPC spawn entries container edition and create your own little element with the plus sign, which you'll always do to create a new array element. And once you open up the drop down bar for the index, right here, spawn entries container class, this will have every single dino spawn container that is actually relative to what is in the live game right now. So right now, when this video gets posted, you'll either see mainly the island spawn containers within your dev kit until the dev kit gets updated with all the scorched earth stuff and things whenever they finally release it. So if you're seeing this video and scorched earth is released, you're not seeing all the scorched earth related spawn containers and dino entries, that's because the dev kit hasn't been updated yet, and we unfortunately, us devs would simply have to wait for wildcard to update the dev kit for all the new scorched earth stuff and things that they're going to possibly be bringing over. So, but what you would do is we're going to go say we wanted him to spawn in the grasslands. So we're going to find that. We're going to find that container, put it there, come down here to additional NPC spawn entries, create a new element, open it up. You don't have to use that name, but we want NPCs to spawn. So we're going to search for our Bob character, and we're going to say our spawn percentage. We want him to spawn chance to, we want him to spawn in that container 50%, have a 50% chance spawn weight, spawn chance weight, and the entry weight is going to be 1. So he's 100% guaranteed to be picked as one of the initial spawns in that spawn container. And so we'll save it, and now Bob will spawn in your map, right? Or your dino will now spawn in your map as long as the map has that spawn container. So keep this in mind. If you are using a modded map for your mod and your mod is using spawn containers, if that modded map does not have those associate spawn containers added on that modded map just yet, those dinos in that spawn container from your mod will not spawn. Which means that that's the only downfall with using spawn containers, is modded maps that are not complete 100% won't spawn all your modded dinos. And if that is the case, you can mix and match to where if you want to do the piggyback spawn, use the piggyback spawn, go through every single dino you've created and ensure that every single dino is piggybacking off of something from vanilla that's guaranteed to spawn in every single map, whether modded or official. For me, I like to use the spawn containers because it doesn't, if you use the spawn containers, the only conflict you'll have is modded maps that aren't completed yet, to where they don't have those specific biomes or those specific spawn containers in their map yet. And that's the only conflict you will see, because the spawn container type of spawns that I'm talking about will not conflict with any piggyback or remapping of dinos, because you're essentially, I should say, ensuring that your modded dinos are going to spawn regardless of what is being remapped, what vanilla dinos are being remapped, or regardless of what other dino overhaul mod or dino mod in general you're maybe using that's using the piggyback system. So they're basically just gonna, it's gonna have everything spawn side by side by using the spawn containers. I like it better, but it does limit the maps you can play your mod on unless you set up those spawn containers for that specific map. And that's dealer's choice, basically. So now that we've added the spawn, ensured that our dino is inside our mod data asset. So now if we upload this to CurseForge and play single player or on a dedicated server, our dino is going to spawn. We're going to enter the test map, and let's look at Mr. Bobby. So we'll tame him in. See, he's got music. And if he's tamed and the tame version has music, I don't know if there's a way to change that. If you know, let me know in the comments. But he's tamed and he has music, area music. And look at his stats. See how his stats are all like crazy. So let's add experience. Give this big boy some experience and some loveliness. And look at his stats. Look at the stats just jump like crazy. That's because we put that 3 times multiplier in there. Oh. Infinite stats. There it goes. Okay. Now let's make this dude, let's see. Let's do it this way. So I did learn, if you want to have damage numbers when you're testing dino damage in your dev kit, whenever you're inside the play editor, just type in toggle damage numbers. And now when we do an untamed version, we can see the damage numbers that we're able to do. Especially, you know, what the hit back is type thing and everything. And now we're done. And one of the things I want to, if you want your dino, say you're making an epic dodo, but you want your dodo, your modded dodo, to be vicious, right? You want this guy to be vicious to the point that if somebody attacks it, it's gonna fight back. It's not gonna run away. It's gonna fight back, and it's gonna try to kill whatever hit it, right? Say you want it to be that neutral type of fighter in the wild. Well, you come into your Dino BP and type in the detail search bar AI controller. Oh, if I spelled. You're looking for the AI controller class. If you change it, so for a dodo, I suggest using the Stego AI controller. So basically what that's going to do, like for Bob right here, even though Bob already has an AI for the Bigfoot to where if it gets attacked, it's going to fight back. If you use the AI for the Stego for, say, your vicious new dodo, it will fight back anything that attacks it. So if you're trying to tame it, it's going to try to kill you, right? So that's what you would do. You would change the AI controller for the dinos so it could then act a different way than what the vanilla counterpart would do. So even I don't think Zomdodos are in currently, so they're not native to the game, but let me see. Yeah, they're not native to the game, but normally like the zombie dodos that came in ASC, you could use the zombie dodo AI controller if you wanted, but for now with what we have accessible within ASA, Stego, or you can change it to Rex or what a Raptor, whatever you deem necessary, whatever you can get to work. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much all I have in this updated video for how to create your dinos. We have our Mr. Bobby with our music. How do I throw myself? Yeah, YOLO. I'm gonna die. You see him real quick? Ha ha ha. I live. Well, guys, oh gosh, guys, I hope that was all great. I hope this was a lot of good information. Oh, before I forget, if you are creating, like how this is a semi-boss dino, and say you're creating this guy and you do not want this guy to be tamed, forgot about this. If you type in your Dino BP, you type can be, you can uncheckmark can be tamed, uncheckmark can be torpored, and uncheckmark can be carried. Those 3, now the dino cannot be tamed unless you admin tame it, and it cannot be picked up or torpored by any means. And then also If you want this to be a true boss and you want a health bar, if you type in health bar, you want to enable draw health bar. Then and if you want it to be visible from any, like, to where the health bar is consistently showing, then you want to type in draw HUD, and you want to enable force draw HUD and blueprint draw floating HUD. Compile and save it. So now when you're on the, like, say you're on the map and your dino spawns in, now that health bar and the name is always going to be visible from a specific distance. What the distance is, I don't know. It's probably a setting within the BP itself, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's a distance with health bar. Yeah, health bar max draw distance. Probably there's probably a way to initiate, like, fix the distance on the view range, like the distance that the health bar shows up for the dino within game. I don't know that specifically, so I can't really answer that. If you figure that out, let me know in the comments. But I think I've covered the majority of all the new updated information that I've been tinkering with when creating a custom dino. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please leave them down below underneath the video. Come join the community Discord. The link for that's going to be in the description as well. You can talk to me and other fellow devs that have joined my community over there. Just let me know that you are an ARK Survival Ascended dev, and I will give you the specific role needed to talk to us in our secret dev chat channel, or you can join the hidden mod dev channel, voice chat channel that we normally will be in working. Well, besides that, guys, I hope this all was helpful. I hope it was very, very clear. I hope you enjoyed this updated dino creation video. I hope to see you in the next one. I love you guys, and y'all take it easy. Peace.